All right, we're going to start with The Nation. June 12, Why We Must Defend Our Democracy by Tinubu. Subsidy palliatives, more buses for your state's free ride for peoples in Kwara. Chetima's last-minute push swings support for Akpabio and Abbas. My Nigeria Air Story by ex-minister Sirika. Emefiele's exit and the fireworks before suspension. Babangida to politicians, use June 12th gains to deepen democracy. Okay, which story are we starting with?
Let me start with our president's June 12th address this morning. President Bola Ahmed Tinubu this morning has reminded Nigerians of the sacrifices made to attain democracy, saying everything must be done to defend it. He also talked about some of the policies he signed in so far. He says reforms. He said that the judicial reforms have just begun. It's a bid to strengthen the rule of law, and also talked about the petroleum subsidy and why it had to go, because he said it benefited just a few and was not sustainable. He also talked extensively about the June 12, 1993 elections and all that happened and the abolition. And he said that, you know, there were other heroes of our democracy. He talked about Kudirat Abiola, the wife of Chief Abiola, who was brutally murdered while in the trenches fighting on the side of the people. He talked about he says we remember Pa Alfred Rewani as one of the heroes of our independence struggle. Major General Shehu Musa Adua, who was silenced by the military junta while in pursuit of democracy. And he said that because our democracy was fought for, you know, that many people made the ultimate sacrifice for our democracy. This is something that we must defend. He says, you know, during the elections, there's a way that it happens. People are arguing with each other, and sometimes people don't may feel like it's petty or does not reflect well. Right. Well, at least it shows that we have a democracy that is building, so we must do everything to defend it and hold on to it. He's said many other things, but, you know, really just in celebration of our democracy, and we should understand the importance of what we have.
So in a related story, also, former military president Ibrahim Badamasi Babangida also make it with reference to June 12th, and he said that politicians must use the elections to deepen democracy in our country. According to him, the gains of June 12, 1993 presidential election have not been exploited properly by political leaders in our country. As we know, it was adjudged the freest and fairest amongst Nigerians, and the Nigerians came out en masse to vote for their own leader. He said that currently thuggery in has totally taken over our politics in Nigeria. Too many litigations in Nigeria, too many issues that are being caused that should have actually been addressed by what happened in June 12. He's saying that the current elections, the past elections we just had, should be a learning curve to help to strengthen and deepen our democracy going forward.
Yes, so we know that there's been controversy about the Nigeria Air. You took part of the story last week. But the former aviation minister, Hadi Sirika, has alleged sabotage by some key industry players. So he mentioned domestic airline owners and the former chairman of House of Representatives Committee on Aviation, Nolim Nnaji. Said he's the one that caused the delay in the national carriers takeoff. He said that while the airline operators under the aegis of Airline Operators of Nigeria, AON, begged him to truncate the project, Nnaji demanded the 5% equity in the project as a precondition for the support of the House Committee. But he refused to give in to the demand, and that must have made Nnaji go out to say that Nigeria Air was a fraud. There were speculations that they had spent over 53 billion on that, and he says it's only 5 billion that was budgeted for the Nigeria Air, and 3 billion has been, you know, released to the Aviation Ministry, which they have not even finished. They are still using the money. He says it was meant for acquisition of offices, payment of consultancy fees, worker salary, processing of air operators certificate. And you know that
about the aircraft? Yes.
So the aircraft, they also accused him of you know, hiring the aircraft for that display. He didn't explain that what if the aircraft has been returned. He didn't say anything about that, but he said that they did not hire. He removed himself and the federal government that they did not hire. They only had issues with a lot of AON members, you know, begging that they truncate Nigeria Air. They didn't want, probably they have invested interest in international carriers, and so they are trying to truncate it, but that everything is open to investigation, is ready to be investigated. People need to see that everything has been transparent so far.
Okay. Talk about any stories?
Yes, I want to take the Emefiele story. I haven't been on the show since then. I haven't been on the show since it happened. So the Nation is saying that the suspension of Emefiele has a lot of fireworks that heralded this situation. And one of the first paragraph was that the CBN governor didn't take advantage of exiting when the presidency under the last administration, because he had just 10 months left. On a normal day, he should have just stepped down and gone on a what they usually call it, a pre-retirement leave.
Why?
And left when the ovation was high.
Which
and that
ovation?
he didn't take advantage. He said he was lucky that it was surprising that most people, that he didn't take the golden opportunity to quit the stage whilst his erstwhile principal was in position. Okay. So that the handwriting was on the wall that something was going to happen. And so they felt that his suspension and he said no doubt that there are certain unpleasant experiences that would happen to him right now. They'll be investigating a lot of what he did during his administration. There are reports from different angles, from different people that in the industry that are saying this doesn't go well for Nigeria. This is the last two CBN governors did not complete their term. It's supposed to be a 5-year and then 5-year, and none of the last CBN governor and this current CBN governor seem to be taken off the stage in controversial manner. And one of the advisors was saying that to prevent this, it starts at the stage of appointing who the CBN governor is. That if we don't get it right at the point of appointment, then we'll be having these kind of issues happen. Some people also brought up the CBN governor doing more than advising on fiscal policy and going into monetary policies. And there are many things happening right now, but we're hoping that the reaction of the international market would not be to see Nigeria as an unstable place to do business, because we don't want to give that indication in a new administration.
Let's take the Punch. Democracy Day, Tinubu hails MP Abiola, promises to ease subsidy removal pains. DSS seizes Emefiele's passport, plans home office search. Over $56 billion loss to oil theft and subsidy, says advisory panel. Senate presidency backs Christian Senate President Betara Gaji step down. Okay, which story are we taking away?
So the presidency on Sunday has explained its decision to back a Christian as a Senate president. They said the Vice President, Kashim Shettima, at dinner with lawmakers across party lines in Abuja. This happened Saturday. He said that the party has come up with a consensus ticket for Senator Godswill Akpabio as Senate President and Jibrin Barrow as deputy in the interest of the stability of the country. He said, he was just trying to explain that because we have a Muslim situation as president and vice president, it was important to make sure that at the Senate president level it was a Christian, to show inclusivity. Then of course we have at the House of Reps level as well. I'm trying to be sure because the names I was expecting. Anyway, so at the they also have the party nominated as House of Reps, Tajuddin Abbas, who's Kaduna Northwest, for Speaker, and Benjamin Kalu for Abia Southeast for Deputy. Of course, given the consensus arrangement, we have some aspirants who are insisting that they want to contest for these positions. And those contestants include Senators Abdul Aziz Yari, Zamfara, Oji Kalu, Osita Izu, Maso, and of Imo West. Then we have Sani Musa from Niger State, who would not step down for the party consensus aspirant for the two Senate leadership positions. So they're asking to run for the position as well.
Let's go on a break. When we come back, we continue with our review. Stay with us. We'll be right back. Thanks for staying with us. We're still reviewing Punch. A few stories, human interest.
Yes, I have the human interest story. It said about 5 persons lost their lives in a boat accident, which occurred at Ubunla in Ilaje, local government area of Ondo State. They said the incident happened last Thursday. The victims, who were seafood traders, were traveling on sea from a market in Ubunla. According to the president of Ondo State Fishermen Association of Nigeria, Orioye, he said that the victims failed to use their life jackets. And the only person who survived had his life jacket on, and he went ahead to advise that they must begin to enforce that for you to take the waterways in your journey, you must wear your life jacket. And also the government needs to begin to clear the waterways to avoid accidents. So most of the accidents caused are because there are things that obstruct the canoes and the boats from, having a free flow of traffic. And so the government must begin to clear that and see how they can enforce the use of life jackets.
All right, so still on flooding, traders in Shasha Market, Oshogbo, Osun State, urged the state government to expand the bridge on Shasha River to prevent incessant flooding of the market during rainfall. Lots of traders were really crying. Their stores were affected by the flood, and many of them, most of the goods were washed away. Speaking on behalf of the affected leaders, Iyaloja Agba of Shasha Market, Mrs. Rianat Lawal, said the market had been experiencing flooding in the past 5 years, and they've tried to reach out to the Ministry of Environment. However, the governor of Osun State immediately had said that they must activate the Ministry of Environment plans for that area to prevent all their flooding. Anti-flooding activities must be resumed immediately, and they must speed up the channelization projects and launch implementation of flood prevention agenda of the state government to prevent this from happening. Many traders were really in deep sorrow because they lost lots of their life savings and goods, and they're hoping that the government can also compensate them for some of this loss.
So a 35-year-old man has been arrested by the police for defiling a 9-year-old girl in Edo State. They said this happened in the Ubogi community of the Ovia Northwest local government area of the state. It was reported to the police. The suspect lured the victim into his room, had intimate knowledge of her, and gave her 600 naira after the act. And they said the police PPRO, Chidi Nwabuzo, confirmed the incident on Sunday. He said investigations are being carried out by the gender unit of the command. The police spokesman also added that the victim, the 600 naira, they found the 600 naira with the 9-year-old victim. So this is from 39-year-old to a 9-year-old child. And it's really sad, but I'm happy that they were able to get, there's sort of like a quick, they reported to the police, there's investigation, he's been arrested. It happened in January, but the case is now, we're getting like...
Can we have like an executive order where the president can just, when in case like this, just kill the guy?
Once you can prove it immediately.
Just shoot the guy.
Have to be able to prove
blow
it.
up,
Once you can able to prove.
blow up the head. I mean, we need to see some of those blowing up of heads. Because you can't, I mean, I know there's not. I'm saying it's a 9-year-old child.
I understand.
God forbid, some of us, we need to just start get some drastic actions. We've been seeing drastic actions. Anyway, let's move on. It's not our hot topic. Vanguard used June 12 as lesson to drive Nigeria's development. NMDPRA accuses ExxonMobil of all theft. June 12 implements a revised report on governance, says NADECO. Economic uncertainties, insecurity drive up life insurance. Failed transactions, banks, others trade blame as customers' agony persists. Fuel subsidy, school owners groan, seek government's assistance. Yeah, which story are we starting with?
School owners in the country, under the auspices of the National Association of Proprietors of Private Schools, NAPS, are crying out to governments to assist them in coping with the fallout of the removal of fuel subsidy, which has increased their cost of running their schools. They also told parents to prepare to pay higher fees next term as a result of the current prices of petrol. So to arrive at the decision, find a means of coping with this situation, they had a webinar entitled Government Policies and Resultant Effects on Private School Administration, a case study on the removal of subsidy. And according to the president, while he was addressing the participants, he said the policy had far-reaching implications, not only on private schools, but also on the education sector as a whole. And government policies have a profound impact on various aspects of our lives, and education is no exception. And so they need a plan. Government needs a plan to specifically support schools and even the private schools so that they are able to run and not go under this period. We really do not know how long this subsidy is going to, subsidy removal is going, how long the effects are going to be felt by the common man. And so government needs to reach out to every stakeholder that's involved, businesses, and see how they can support them. I received an email requesting for the receipts of the school bus payment that I had made. I should resend it again. And I panicked. I was like, do we send half term or we send every term? And so I found it. I now sent it back to them. They say, apologies. They just wanted to check. I say, hey, these people want to find a way to increase the prices, which I wouldn't blame them.
Okay, another story in Vanguard.
Yeah, so this is from Nigerian Midstream and Downstream Petroleum Regulatory Authority, NMDPRA. They're asking for the detention of vessel Baramk gas for illegally lifting butane at Bonny River Terminal. The Chief Executive, Farouk Ahmed, has accused ExxonMobil of collaborating with the vessel owners to engage in oil theft and economic sabotage. They said that they wrote a letter and they're saying the Chief of Defense Staff, they're asking his attention to be drawn to the illegal petroleum lifting operations taking place at Bonny River Terminal. And they said that this unlawful action is being facilitated with the active connivance of ExxonMobil, who has illegally destroyed the locks on the sea line valve, and the keys are in the custody of the authority. Goes ahead to say that this is economic sabotage, criminal damage, and theft of Nigeria's national resources. But the manager, media and communications for ExxonMobil have responded, or he has responded and says, in response to inquiry, we wish to state that all operations of the NNPC MPN joint venture are carried out in full compliance with the law. So an allegation has been made, a huge one that is, and I guess we would find out eventually how this plays out.
So some people are enjoying from, some industries are enjoying from the economic uncertainties in Nigeria. The industry is called life insurance industry. So they said that statistically they've had major improvement, 18% improvement between 2022, that more people are asking for life insurance, and that they have 309 billion naira has been spent on insurance premium. That's according to the National Insurance Commission, NICOM. They said this may have been attributed to after COVID. COVID was a major decline because people did not. Okay, people.
Okay, can't hear you.
Yeah, they can't hear me at the moment.
Okay, right. So while they're trying to fix you, a group by the name of Pristine Initiative for Social Development said all subsidy was a multi-trillion naira scam whose beneficiaries were well-heeled, rich, and powerful. And it was actually advising the president to be ready to face serious backlash and confrontation from these oil subsidy cartels in the aftermath of this final withdrawal. According to him, he was also referencing what the vice president had said, that these guys have deep pockets and they'll use everything they have to stop, they'll use everything they have to get this policy to be reversed. However, they are saying that they also support the president, saying that they praised him for his courage, but he must be ready for the aftermath of this subsidy removal. We have to move on quickly now to the Nigerian Tribune. Let's find a story of not taking. There's not much here. Your sacrifice shall not be in vain. Tinubu tells Nigerians in first broadcast. Race for speakership, Batara Gaji stepped down for Abbas Kalu. I know there's some stories inside to take.
Yes, I have a story inside. Governor Abdulrahman Abdulrazak of Kwara State has approved deployment of government buses to support movement of students and workers in public tertiary institutions within Ilori, the capital city, and its environs. So in a statement by the Chief Press Secretary, CPS, to the Governor, Rafiu Ajakai, the bus palliative for the students covering the metropolis is the second phase in the measures. We already know the first phase, which is the fact that he had reduced the work days from 5 days a week to 3 days for workers, and now they are going to be providing buses. From Wednesday, June 14, large buses will be deployed to transport students, public and tertiary institutions within the metropolis. And that's not all. Edo State also is providing 24-hour free Wi-Fi in various MDAs and other public places in the state to ensure unlimited access to the internet for workers. And they also are doing 3 days a week, aside from, as against the 5 days. So they mentioned some of the areas. So if you're, not just for people in the office, for even those who are living around the office areas, a few kilometers away, you have access to Wi-Fi to ensure that you are able to do
for those
work.
who are not on the days on, they can go to these places then and use the Wi-Fi.
I guess governors are getting creative.
Yes, times are changing.
Yes, Osun State had said he's working on his own palliatives to help his people, but he will also be looking at transportation and interventions for workers. And also, that's
So I even did palliative for my own staff too. I told her one more day. She comes. She used to do 1 day off, so I've now made it 2 days off. So in our own ways.
We're all trying to do it. We have to run.